I definitely remember in 8th grade where I was just walking home, walking to my bicycle. I rode my bike to and from school every day. And then just from behind me, I just felt somebody just come up with a big hand and just slap me on the back of the neck. That was the cool culture at the time in the States, to slap kids on the back of the neck. And I kind of just was like, what's going on? And when I turned around, it was like the guy you don't want to mess with. Big, fit, and he was like, what, you want to go? And I just kind of like walked off and ignored. So he and his buddy just followed me home, intimidating me. And I was like, okay, just going to ignore. So that night went to the football game, which is very cultural Americana, and again, targeted me, followed me out. I was going to the payphone to call my mom to come pick me up, and felt the presence of him. And I just remember turning around, and he just laid the fist low, and I knew it was coming, and he tried to hit me, and I ducked and missed and like ran like crazy, because I was like, I don't want to get into this fight. I was being very passive, which maybe was a good or maybe it was a bad thing. But that was my downfall, is running away. And they just continued to bully. The next semester, it let up a little bit. Lo and behold, I was in a PE class with the same guy, and our first sport was wrestling. And guess who I got paired up with? The bully. And the interesting thing is, of course, he beat the crap out of me in the wrestling match, but I took him all 3 rounds, and I remember him grabbing my hand after he pinned me in the 3rd round and said, it's over. And I just felt to myself, it's like, well, at least it's over with. But it was just the stress, and like all of that was a terrible feeling for basically 6 months of my life. Whether if I would have addressed it that night at that football game and fought him, maybe that would have been the smart way out. But in the end, I just was the passive guy. But it ended the way it did.
It all started when I got a Facebook. I used to post a status like, oh, my team had just won, and I'm really happy, or that was amazing. And I didn't really get much, and at school I'd hear from friends, oh, haha, you really shouldn't like that team, you're not from the US. And because it was my friends, I never thought much of it. I mean, I knew they were doing it in jest. But then with Facebook, I start getting people who I barely knew saying that, and it hurt. Because through Facebook, I didn't realize that they were being sarcastic. And because I didn't really know the people, I was almost like, who are you, why are you saying this, and you're hurting my feelings. And it continued for 3 years, and it got to the point that one of my teachers, who I was a friend with on Facebook, saw it and sent it to my counselor. And by that point, it was freshman year, and I was used to it, and I just expected people to say that, but I didn't really care. But just because someone stood up for me and told a counselor, who they had to do a lot of research because they were at a different school to find, it meant a lot. And it showed me that I really shouldn't stand for that anymore. So later in the year, I just told the people who were doing that I don't like it. It hurts my feelings. And I am allowed to like things that I want to like. And even though I am American, you can't say I'm not American just because I don't look like you. So, I mean, I think what I learned from this is that you sometimes need someone else to speak up for you so you can learn to speak up for yourself. But the hardest thing that I have to admit was, it just hurt. I didn't think it would hurt, and I would always tell myself it wouldn't hurt me. But when I would go to bed, I would think about that, and I would wonder, why do people have to say that? I mean, we're all in an international school. None of us are American by the common definition. We're all third culture kids, or people who've never really been in the States for their whole life. So it just hurt that people who were similar to me, just because they looked a little different, thought they could say I'm not something.
My experience started a little bit before 6th grade. It really got more serious in 6th grade because everyone started getting new vocabulary, I guess. Oftentimes I'd walk past people and they'd give me strange looks, or they'd knock my books out of my hand, or they'd make rude comments about my weight or my hair or what I was wearing. And it was like little subtle things that really affected me. And over the years, I think it got more worse. And during freshman year, it was kind of at its peak because that's when everyone was like, oh, I'm I'm older now, I'm bigger now, I can use these words and I can point out everyone's flaws and all that. So I remember one time where I was walking with a couple of my friends and we walked past a large group of people and they were talking about me, I guess, and they were calling me names like, oh, she's really fat, she's obese, her hair's too puffy, her eyes are too, I guess, wrong. Her nose is too big, or her cheeks are too fluffy. And it kind of, no one stood up for me. Like, none of my friends who I expected would have said something with me didn't. So I think they wanted me to hear it. So when I walked up to them and I asked them, you know, I can hear you, right? They all kind of looked at me and they all just started laughing and they all walked off like it was no big deal. And no one really did anything. Like, I tried talking to some teachers and they didn't really do anything. They just said, oh, it's high school, you'll get over it, no one will remember. But it really affected me. Like, it affected the way I looked at myself and it affected the way other people looked at me. And every time someone would come up to me, like now, and ask me, why can't you just take a compliment? It's not that I can't take it, it's just that, it's not that I don't want to take it, it's just that I can't, because I can't go against something that's been told to me for the past 4+ years. So I think the best decision that I've ever made was to speak out about it. I told my counselor in freshman year about all the silly things that I've done and all the silly things people have done to me and my experiences, and she really helped me. She talked to me and she told my parents because she knew that I didn't want to. She knew that I didn't want to cause a scene because I didn't think it was serious, because everyone told me it wasn't. So when I finally talked out about it, my parents gave me the ultimatum whether to stay here and just to deal with it because I only had a couple years left, or to move. And I think it was that support, that knowledge that I could get up and start over that really pushed me. And I decided to stay because why would I prove everyone right when I could lose weight, or I could get my grades better, and I could prove everyone wrong. And I think it's really hard to speak out about it because everyone tells you that it's no big deal and that everyone's going to forget about it and you're not known for this, but it really affects how you look at yourself. And it kind of just progressed more. Like, it's still going on now, but it's toned down and it's gotten worse because it's more like online now and you don't know who's saying it and you don't know if it's true or not. But all you can really do is just deal with it for now.
The way that he brought my self-esteem down were, he brought it down through words that would tell me that I was so dumb that I couldn't even figure out a math problem that was made for like 7th or 6th graders, and he would laugh at that and think it was really funny, and he would tell me that so many other girls were so much prettier than me when he was supposed to be making me feel like I was special. And he also would tell his friends and people around him about how about just complete lies that were that were sexually so hurtful to me when I heard about them. And emotionally, I was so hurt by the fact that he was telling people that I couldn't, I wasn't, my body wasn't good, I wasn't smart enough, I was too obsessed with myself, and it got to a point where I would sit there and listen to it and completely believe it, and when I tried to resist it, he would attempt to like punch a wall behind my head and scare me into thinking that it was right, which was hurtful because I didn't know that it was. When I would try and make myself, liberate myself, I would just be shot down even more, and I was scared to walk in the halls because I knew that he would be somewhere waiting for me so that he could take out his own anger on me, and that was also a really hard part.
So when I was a freshman in high school, I had some friends that I'd had since childhood, and some of my friends came to me and they were concerned about one of our other friends who's kind of the leader of the pack, you know, the one that always has to follow the leader on the playground, and if they're not the leader, they don't play the game with you and they start a different game and pulls everyone away from you. And they had some concerns about some of the ways that she was treating them, and kind of came to me as the intermediary to go and deal with the situation. So one day I approached her with them and tried to bring up some of the concerns, and she got angry and upset, and actually pushed me down on the ground as a freshman in high school. And my friends went with her and left me by myself. And at that point it started the whole smear campaign about me, and they started rumors that weren't true. But when you've got multiple people perpetuating rumors about you, there's not much you can do about it. It caused me to just look inside myself. I didn't have any friends. They were my main social group. So I got very lonely, which caused a lot of depression. I think as a freshman I was trying to understand who I was and make my mark kind of in high school, and I didn't have the opportunity to do that. That depression caused me to go home after school and take pills, you know, go into the liquor that my parents had stored in the basement, and I would drink to ease the pain. I didn't feel like I could talk to my parents about it because they were both very popular in high school, and so I didn't think that they would understand my pain. So I just tried to deal with it the best way that I knew how. And that caused me to just slip into a deeper depression, to the point where I had written a letter to say goodbye to my family and friends because I was planning on killing myself. And a friend had found the note, a girl that I was in class with, not even really a friend, just an acquaintance. And she sought help from an adult and got involved. And those adults intervened with my parents, and my parents intervened with me, and I realized that they did care and they could understand, and that life wasn't worthless just because of some friends. And because of the help that I got, I finally started feeling like I know who I am, and I just need to be me, and regardless of what was going on outside, and then investing in friendships, and it really turned it around, and I enjoyed high school. I got to the point where I was involved in many different clubs and groups, and I had tons of friends, and you know, I defined who I was in high school, and I didn't allow the rumors and things to define me. But that confidence had to come from reaching out and getting help. So that's my story.